Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I'd like to welcome our listeners, all of our returning listeners and new listeners, and as well a new partner of ours, the Legends of Pittsburgh Cruise. Will have some more information about their 5th annual Legends of Pittsburgh Cruise coming up here later in the show, and also a brief show note of one of our current sponsors of the podcast. That would be Game Day Tailgate Experience, who's hosting the Big Jaguars Tailgate. You've heard it here many, many times, but as you may or may not be aware, kickoff time has been moved, and so the tailgate has also been moved, and I guess that leads into, you were just asking, what were we going to start the WTF episode with? I'm finally back with you, Terry. Let's start with the change of the kickoff, because it screwed up everything with GTE and probably some folks' flights just like myself headed down to Jacksonville. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be flying with you this week. Gone solo last couple of weeks, and it's always nice to have a partner.
It is. I enjoy it. You know, I missed Brian, and I missed you, and now it's like we're all coming together like one big happy family. And I'm going to be catching Trey here shortly as well for Trey's Corner this week, so this is all going to be good. But yes, the Steelers game, the big WTF, I was sitting there, and I wanted to punch my computer screen or my phone, smash it into the desk or whatever it was when I saw I think it was the email that came across first, that the Steelers-Jaguars game is no surprise to many. They have this flex scheduling thing in the NFL where they move the Sunday night games and try and make that more, I guess, appealing to a broader audience. So I guess the Jacksonville Jaguars rematch, since the Jaguars are kind of stinky this year, isn't as appealing, has been moved from the 8:20 or 8:30 or whatever it is Eastern time block up to 1 o'clock. So now you could enjoy your breakfast with your Steelers, Terry, instead of dinner this time.
Yeah, that actually doesn't work for us. We actually had a planned brunch with friends on there. I'm like, yeah, sorry, because now it starts, early in the morning for us. That's a 10 o'clock game. So, yeah, we're like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing the Sunday night football. So they're like, I guess they're out. But it's fine. I actually like it at a 10 o'clock game, and I think the players prefer it as well.
Well, for 10 o'clock, they don't know it's 10 o'clock in Pittsburgh. It's 1 o'clock for
1 o'clock
for all of us normal people.
The early game. Early game.
Everything, what is more American than running everything off of Eastern time, right? I mean, you're already in the United States. You want everyone else to do everything. It's like we do this in feet and inches. We don't do centimeters. We don't do meters. We don't do this metric system. Well, and then you go and you break it down, and it's like, hey, it's East Coast time. Everything's on East Coast time, except for in the West Coast when they do the 60 minutes or whatever. Like, what airs after the football game instead of 60 minutes, if I may ask?
I think it used to be The Simpsons, so I don't know what it is now. We usually are watching a recorded show, or basically once it's over, we're done. So, but yeah, it's interesting because I think they're going to have this long break and then come back, refresh. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that sounds good. So where do we even begin with the WTFs from the last week? I guess a week ago, Thursday Night Football, I think you thought, maybe a few other people out there. I did not, because I'm a genius, by the way. I'm what, clairvoyant? Is that the word? Omniscient? With the 49ers beating on the Raiders, a lot of people thought that the Raiders might get a victory there, but I'm like, nah, you know what? Third string quarterback, this Raiders team is such garbage or hot garbage right now. They're not going to be able to even defeat a 49ers team that had like this undrafted kid who was on the practice squad playing under center and Nick Mullins. And then he had the game of the century too, and they just piled on the Raiders. And I guess I didn't realize that Oakland, you drive around the bay to this Levi's Stadium, it's like just as far from like actual physical San Francisco than Oakland is. So it was I knew it was in the Bay Area, and I'm like, it's not really like a trip or any type of travel or away game for a Thursday night. Usually the away teams are very much handicapped because of the travel, the short week, the schedule and whatnot. But I'm like, you know what? The Raiders are still stinky. I'm going to go with the 49ers. And
yeah, you were smart.
I
right. I did not. You were right. Yeah, I did not. And I'm in a survival league as well as my two other fantasy leagues, and I had first picked Kansas City. I thought, you know what, they're definitely going to come out and win. And I thought, no, let's just be sneaky here. And the Raiders have to win again, right? I mean, they're putting in a third string quarterback on the other side. And after 8 weeks in a row of winning, I was not only kicked to the curb, boy, I was bitch slapped. So I was like, okay, fine. I was not happy about that one.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting John Gruden to do anything but just tear this team apart. And I guess the WTF is like you see on Monday Night Football, Amari Cooper comes right in with the Cowboys and scores a touchdown. And it's just, you know, it's the same thing Khalil Mack did with his first game with the Bears. He scores a touchdown too, and it makes him look the opposite of being a genius. And much so the same thing with the Martavis Bryant trade. Thank you again very much, Chucky. So,
what it makes him look like is that he basically, you know, the old saying, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. He's not a coach. He just plays one on TV. He's been out of coaching for 9 years. And I think because of his high profile on TV, he just thought he'd come in and, you know, it'd be the same as it used to be. And it's just sad what's happening out there. But, you know, mainly because the fans now, what are they going to do after this year? They're going to now fly for this team to Las Vegas. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, I'd be like, WTF this season, shoot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I feel when everyone's trying to always drag Bill Cowher or Steve Mariucci or one of these other guys off of their analyst jobs and pull them out from TV, from behind the desk, and put them back on the field. And no wonder these guys don't want to do it. I mean, Tony Romo, he got his job, and he was like, see ya, you know. Jay Cutler didn't have as good of a job, so he was like, I'll take that NFL paycheck and play for another season. But speaking of Cowboys, we were mentioning Romo, and, you know, you had to hear all this stuff. The most ridiculous thing on Monday night, I thought was, I can't always remember this guy's name. I can't pronounce it. I think that's the main problem. The main play-by-play guy for Monday Night Football that's there with Witten.
Not the Booger guy.
Not Booger McFarlane. The only thing that bugs me about Booger, I like him on the radio. The thing that bugs me is that cart. Now, if you notice, there's a WTF for you. They had that solid background behind it, and then people started like tweeting at the NFL, at ESPN, complaining about. They put a TV screen on the back of the thing so you can watch the game on the screen as his cart obstructed your several $100 field level lower bowl seats that you paid to actually watch what's going on the field. Now you get to watch it as it's presented on TV because they put this stupid cart out there that's blocking everyone's view. And
I don't like him because he sympathizes with the players and not it doesn't call he's not calling the game from a perspective of everybody's watching it. He's being a player advocate or something. I don't know. He's weird.
My real impression of the broadcast crew there, and they added like this clear bulletproof glass behind Booger now so people could see through it. Not that it's made it any better, but my actual real impression of it is that Witten's just not good enough. The broadcast team with the duo isn't good enough, so they had to add Booger in there for some color, and it just makes it more of it's just more of a mess. It's a train wreck, but
it is a mess.
They were blowing smoke up Witten's butt about, you don't have the guy that's run these, whatever patterns and opened this up over 15 years or below. He was just like crawling right up Witten's butt there. And it was just it was so
I kept
bad.
Hearing that too. But what was weird about that game? And I mean, I love Marcus Mariota. I think he's just this kind soul. I saw him in Hawaii when he played in college. I mean, he's just this really cool guy. But they kept talking about him like he was a rookie, and isn't he 4 years in the league now? They kept saying like this young quarterback, and I mean, it seemed like they thought he just started.
What, third season for Dak Prescott now. So Mariota, fourth season.
No, Mariota, yeah.
So
fourth season, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out where they were each drafted, and it's just like, neither have been like incredibly amazing, except for Mariota, like put the ball like right up. Was it Derrick Henry or Deion Lewis's guy? It was the little pitch play that they ran, and it was beautiful. It was just like he pulled it right out, and it was a little pitch play. But I mean, that's the real WTF, is just how easily the Titans, who have looked like a mess at different times during the season, made the Cowboys look like, well, back to the drawing board, and Jerry was ready to just punch the table, and then he kind of just laid like a little flat hand on it. He was like, I got a brittle. He might have broke his hand. Who knows? But you're speaking of playing a coach or doctor at home. There's Jerry Jones. He's been playing a GM for a better part of like 20 years or so. And you know what? Some success to him, I guess, for what they did in the early 90s and whatnot. But, who could guess Tony Romo just made out of glass, and you have Witten walk away and all these other things. They got rid of Des Bryant. So they had the center, Travis Frederick, who had what was the thing that he had going on, the illness or the injury? I can't remember what it was now. But you know what? He was like he was at risk and on IR, and he couldn't play and stuff like that too. So they have all kinds of things going on there.
Well, and Sean Lee. I mean, weren't they talking about
Sean
Lee?
He's always too.
He's always out. That's even their coach was saying, Jason. He was just like, yeah, that's the one thing he keeps having to fight is he's when he's healthy he's great, but he's having to fight this. So the way he was talking about it yesterday, I had a feeling that there might be a change there. I think they're just tired of the constant he's just not available.
Out of the picks that we made for the week, I only missed on Sunday night and Monday night. And Sunday night was the Patriots and the Packers, which was just my WTF out of that game was watching the Patriots punter get run into.
Oh my God.
And then they gave a 15-yarder and a first down instead, which gave the Patriots more points. It obviously didn't matter in the outcome of the game because the Patriots still would have won. They won by a cushion, but I mean,
still,
at the time, it was just like the momentum swaying in the wrong direction there.
But, speaking of that, it's just interesting about what's going on. So you remember that we just had a recent referee that was fired. And we never saw that before. I mean, talk about a WTF in the, in the umpiring referee world. You were like, what? An NFL referee actually got fired? And so ever since then, I don't know if you've noticed, but the media refs have always kind of had each other's back, kind of I'm no offense to you, but old boys, club basically saying, well, nobody ever says old girls club, but old boys club, basically they stick together and like, well, I could see why they do this. Well, they don't do that anymore. Ever since that guy got fired within the last week and a half, now they're on TV going, no, that's the wrong call. No, I don't see how they could have made that call. And I mean, it's pretty interesting when you get, Blandino even saying that on his radio show going, yeah, he commented on the Steelers game and about one of the pass interference calls we got. I think it was the one on Sensabaugh. And he said, I don't see where that was pass interference. Because they asked him about different ones. They gave it to him on Edmonds, but they didn't give it to him on the Sensabaugh call. So they said, well, Edmonds didn't look back.
Yeah, neither did Tavon Young on Antonio Brown in the corner of the end zone either. And it's just, don't make me revisit that. But the reason it's the good old boys club is because they have a union, and there's like there's a grievance, process and this, that, and the other thing for anyone who's ever dealt with any type of union and labor disputes. So that's why it's not easy to just get rid of an NFL referee. It can not give them assignments, but to actually hear of one get fired. I mean, that's what happened. It's the guy you like all the time. You like Pete Morelli, I think.
I don't.
He looks like Mr. Magoo.
Was it Salvatore or Salvatore?
Yeah, you like Steratore. Gene Steratore.
Steratore. Yeah, I like him.
And Mr. Magoo, Pete Morelli, he's got to be a nice like grandpa or something. Like he just seems like such a nice guy. But there's been a lot of mistakes in games that he's officiated over the years. And the big one I think was like it was like a playoff game. I want to say it may have been like the 49ers and Giants or something like that with a field goal attempt or extra point. I don't remember precisely what it was, but I remember him specifically botching something a few seasons ago, and then they like downgraded his assignment from like some game that was, and this is kind of bad for the NFL to do. You can't necessarily tell someone, how do you tell the member teams, well, we're going to move this referee that just screwed up this one game. Just because we don't have enough warm bodies to fill all of these games, we're going to move this referee who was really bad last week to your game and take the referee that you were supposed to have and put him on this game that we feel is more important. How do you tell it? Because I think it was like the Steelers and Browns. I mean, the game, we all know the game doesn't mean anything, but how do you tell that to the players, the front office, the owners, the organizations that your game doesn't mean anything? I mean, that's kind of like, you know, a slap in the face. So, but that's the only other time I can remember something like that in recent memory happening where they, you know, kind of demoted somebody. It's unheard of.
But isn't that what they're doing too when they're doing the flex schedule? I mean, they want the one game that's national game to be, you know, a game for everybody. But I'm surprised they're not thinking a Steelers-Jags game isn't a major game. So that was kind of surprising, even though the Jags have kind of been terrible since the running back's been out, but still. But getting into, speaking of Steeler games, how about our game? A win against the Ravens. It was awesome on the road. But my first WTF, before we even get into the details of that game, I am so sick and tired of people saying the Steelers suck on the road. Do you realize in the last 16 games we're 14-1-1? I'm talking about away.
Well, I do.
So it's like, it's crazy. I mean, you know, you're a stats guy. You know, I actually looked it up and I was like, wait, I knew we had won at least 10, but I had no idea we were 14-1-1 on away games. And I was like, we don't suck, so stop.
I hate that tie that's
I know. I know. It's bugging me too.
Just driving me crazy. You know what? I did want to rewind before I get on some more Steelers stuff with the WTFs. You had some touchdown celebrations. We were talking about the Cowboys game.
Yeah, I have that on my list.
Well, first we have a call. We have a call in the game there where there was like a sack on Dak Prescott. The whistle was blown before he's even down, and they actually ruled it a fumble on the field and gave the possession to the Titans, and it stood, and the whistle clearly blew before Prescott was down. I was like, oh my goodness, that's so terrible. The whistle has blown because they're trying to not let the quarterbacks get like tattooed, basically. I understand that, but they're going to call them down, and then it's not going to be a fumble. And somehow I think there's that fear of God you're talking about, the referees wanting to be fired. But now I lost my train of thought. Who the guy was from
Michael Thomas.
No, Michael Thomas did the Saints. There was someone who did TOs standing on the star. He was a day late, dollar short, unless he had the idea.
That one in the middle.
I don't know. It didn't seem as original after Michael Thomas from the Saints. They beat the Rams. He beats Marcus Peters, reaches underneath the field goal post pads, pulls out a flip phone. I don't know where he found that from, a thrift store somewhere maybe, but it's the old joke.
He said he found it at a hole-in-the-wall liquor store. He actually said it in his interview.
Nice. But yeah, that was Joe Horn many years ago. I remember Joe Horn getting fined for that touchdown celebration many years ago. A very like a star player with the Saints, if you don't remember him, a star wide receiver, probably somebody along the level of, I don't know, like I don't even want to say like Santonio Holmes, but maybe somebody like that, or like a Plaxico Burress that, you know, was a above the line type player, 1,000-yard receiver, but might not stand out in everyone's memory. But I absolutely love that.
You know what's funny about it? Because I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think that, you know, the fact that the Saints iced the game, so they knew they were going to win. You know, and Breeze hits Michael Thomas, you know, for that 72-yard touchdown. So even though he reached under the pads, you know, right at the goalpost that surrounded them to pull out the flip phone, did you know that? Okay, so this is what's funny. As soon as I saw that, and then I was kind of putting together my WTF of the week, I was like, I need to find out more about this guy Joe Horn and everything. So Michael Thomas actually put a phone at both sides. So he had a phone in both goalposts because he said he remembered that that Joe Horn had. Sorry.
Speaking of phone.
I know. So sorry. Yeah, it's political season. Everybody gets phone calls. But he said that he only had one phone at one side. And so he kept having to wait to use the phone celebration because he kept getting his touchdown at the other side. So, you know, it was just funny to me. He's like, yeah, I want to make sure that didn't happen. But a lot of the media, I mean, they hated it on TV. They just like, what are you trying to do? Embarrass the other team to get, you know, an AT&T or Verizon contract. But it just reminded you of like vintage, you know, TO and stuff. So.
Yeah, speaking of celebrations, I'm going to swing around to Steelers celebrations in a second, but I wanted to talk about the Legends Cruise. You could join over 20 Pittsburgh legends who will sail the Caribbean. This was the 5th annual Pittsburgh or Legends of Pittsburgh cruise taking place on March 4th, 2019. Among those, JuJu Smith-Schuster, Rocky Bleier, Willie Parker, Andy Russell, Antwaan, Randle, Donnie, Santonio, Holmes. Just talked about a few of these guys. And more to be announced coming up. So if you're interested in this, folks, I encourage you to check it out. But we, as always, have something for our listeners. Since you listen to our little advertisements, our partners and our sponsors here, it's Military Appreciation Month. So that means if you end up booking the cruise between November 1st and November 12th, you'll receive 10% off plus a free autographed copy of the book Fighting Back by Rocky Bleier. It's a very inspirational book if you haven't had a chance to read it, and Rocky will personally present it to you and with a group photo with all active military and veterans during the cruise. So in order to receive this special deal, you have to call the phone number, and I have this over on the website, so easy for you to find. It's Steelers or SteelCityUnderground.com/Legends Cruise, and use the promo code SCU19 when booking, or the phone number, of course, is 877-381-5553. The reason I jogged my memory, Terry, is JuJu and Antonio Brown seem to be doing these little Dancing with the Stars, river dance, like kind of, have you noticed this yourself where one or the other picks the other one up off the ground, and they kind of do almost, I'm trying to think, who used to do like the live action Peter Pan thing where they fly around in the screen? It is so comical when I see them do this, and it's not the first one that they've done, where one of them like picks the other one up. It almost looks like Don't Put Baby in the Corner from Dirty Dancing, like one of them's going to do the Eli and Odell Beckham commercial or something. But I've watched them do this 2 or 3 times now. Of course, Antonio keeps scoring in every game, and he has his own streak going, so I didn't know if you caught that or if the TV cameras catch that. I've been seeing that in person, but I definitely saw that they did it. They might have like panned away from it in Baltimore, but they got that little dancing thing going, and I think there was a lot of dancing and celebrating going on because, like you said, you know what, the Steelers aren't a bad road team anymore. They got a win in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on TV, but I'm actually thinking, gosh, our celebrations have kind of sucked lately. I'm thinking, you know what, JuJu just isn't getting. I saw an interview with James Conner, who with Missy, and he was basically she was asking him about the celebrations, and he goes, Monday JuJu wants us to come in a little early to choreograph those. He goes, I try not to do that. He said, I'll just either spike it or hand it to the ref and shake guys' hands. He goes, I don't want to come in early just for that. He goes, we go through a beating on the weekend. It was just funny how he said it, like, that's all JuJu. He's got time to do the choreograph. I'm focused on football. So it was just kind of funny to me. But yeah,
it's because of the red zone percentage. They've actually been scoring so much, I think they've run out of ideas. So,
is that what it is? Okay. I don't remember the one where JuJu was having a baby or something. I was like, really? Put the ball under his legs. I was like, a football baby? Yeah. That was pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
Well, funny.
You know what? He doesn't have he drives now, I think. He doesn't have the bicycle, so and he doesn't have the stolen bike thing that all led to all those creative ideas.
Right.
What they really need, they need Le'Veon Bell to come back, and then he'll add to some more. Oh yeah, I opened the can of worms. Forget it. That's That's the WTF tweet of the week.
Let's not talk about that till the end, because I have one comment that somebody made on that I thought was awesome.
Sure.
But going back to our game, I thought one of the WTFs was. And he's done it before, so probably not a big one, but it was funny to me, just the left-footed punt by Ben. But Weddell caught it. So that was a bummer. But I heard something that was really funny that I didn't know. And did you know that Ben was a punter of his college team?
I did not. I'm not.
I did not know
sure
that either. That yeah. It was actually confirmed. I was listening to it on the NFL radio on Sirius, and then I went and looked it up, and he was the punter of his team. He kicked left and threw right. I was like, well, okay, well, he needed to kick it a little further and out of bounds, but yeah, right to somebody is a problem. I just thought that was kind of like, okay, what are we doing there? But whatever, it's fine.
You know what?
I think our WTF of that game was Josh Dobbs. I mean, in a way that I'm like, What the is he doing? I mean, 2nd and 20, 22-yard throw to JuJu. I mean, Ben went down, so that was our big WTF. I don't know about you, but I hyperventilated. I mean, I thought it was his shoulder.
Absolutely
I was
terrified.
like, no, and we were standing up, just holding our breath, and thank God that's what he was doing too, that he just got the wind knocked out of him when the guy fell on him. But when you see your franchise quarterback who has been prone to injuries because he never lets a play die, and, somebody fall on him and, he's had a shoulder issue, you're like, oh crap. I mean, it's almost like you see your season flash before your eyes.
It was either that or the punt. I think me and Brian brought that up on the post game and said, this is the definite WTF for Terry this week was one or the other, or maybe both. But, I got two for you that aren't Steelers. Well, you know what? We do have some Steelers related ones because we were going to talk about the WTF of Cam Sutton. First game he has not played in this year on the defensive side of the ball. Played some special teams, not on defense. So there's one that's interesting. Roosevelt Nix, Chuck Okorafor. I think we mentioned this on the post game. Neither of those guys. Now here's the WTF. If you're a Ravens fan, don't even use the jumbo package. Forget about the extra tackle. Forget about the fullback. And James Conner still lays a whooping on you like that. 4.5 yards per carry. There's a WTF for you. Artie Burns losing his starting job, also a WTF. So
no, I think that was actually a WTF. Why didn't it happen sooner? But you know what? I didn't even notice the Rosie Nix. Do you think he's being, I hate to use the word punished, reprimanded from that missed, that thing with Ryan?
No. You know what?
Safety kick.
Let's not read into that too much, because I believe the reason for not doing that was just a little bit of the up tempo. Dan Fouts called it a muddle huddle during the game. I'm like, yay, muddle huddle. That's a great word for it. But it was the substitution thing.
He did. Yeah.
They just weren't running the guys out there, and they didn't have to. They would just run some two tight end sets with Jesse James or Vance McDonald, and that's all the more they needed for that game. I don't know if you got any more Steelers ones. I got two more. I
got one. I got two. Just one that you just mentioned. Why do we always get Iron Eagle and Fouts? I want to hear Tony Romo.
1 o'clock kickoff.
Why do we always get them?
They're the A team for the 1 o'clock spot. Dan Fouts has an early bedtime.
Oh man, I'm just like, as soon as they said Fouts, I'm like, again? Shoot. But the other one is, and this is a crazy one. This is kind of important. I love Chris Boswell. But when I have to hold my breath at every field goal and extra point now, that's not good. He just got a big contract, and when he missed that extra point, I'm like, WTF, what's going on, Chris? So, that I think that's going to, that's something that Tomlin will not stand for very much longer. He does not like it when his kickers can't do their one job. So he's definitely going to have.
I think part of that pressure is the contract too. And if you go back into the archives, listen to Jeff Reed talk about it, it's just like, man, these guys got even more pressure now, because now the extra point isn't even a gimme. I mean, you got both Pro Bowl kickers coming up here on Thursday with Graham Gano and Chris Boswell playing in last year's Pro Bowl as representatives of the AFC and NFC. And even Graham Gano, what did the guy hit? Like 65, 67-yard field goal or something? And he's missed 2 extra point attempts this year too. So it's never a sure thing. My other ones outside of the Steelers game, believe it or not, Fitzmagic once again, 4 touchdown passes in a losing effort. It's just,
I hate it when people call him that. I just hate that. I hate that phrase.
I can't help it.
He didn't even get to patent it. The guy from Miami did.
Yeah, I don't think he's using it too much. Even though the Dolphins did win a very much WTF 13-6 snooze fest from that game, and now it's starting to escape me. The other one I had, although I keep looking at this Chicago Bears 41-9 drubbing of the Buffalo Bills. Like, is there any hope for Buffalo? I know there's probably some Steelers fans that are in that Erie, Pennsylvania to Buffalo, New York, Western New York area, and I don't know how Bills fans are thinking about their team this year, but it can't be positive, to say the least. So, I lost the other one I had. I can't remember what it was now.
I think that I have one other one that really wasn't it kind of was about the game. It was the aftermath. I don't know if you ever watched Good Morning Football with those bozos on there, but
I try not to sometimes.
Well, I hate it when they get silly. You want to hear about the, everything else. I don't like silly stuff. I don't like stupid humor on the TV stuff. So that's me. Maybe it's just, I'm a little more mature than these people. Who knows? But it just, this is something that they were talking about, and they said, we've done the Steelers dance before. They start the season slow, they get into the playoffs, and they lose to the Patriots.
Oh.
And it kind of bugged me. I mean,
I hope that wasn't Kay.
No, it wasn't Kay, but it wasn't Peter, and it wasn't Nate.
We're running out of people now, and it's sure. I'm trying to think. There's like 4 or 5 that are on that show. We're gonna find out.
It was Kyle Brandt. I remember.
That's just that's not cool. But we're not talking about the game day morning people. When we have a contest over on Twitter, and you actually have one of these commemorative. I can't even say that word, commemorative. Now I sound like a real professional. Special box of coffee for the NFL game day morning crew. They have like 5. Bags of coffee. These were the whole bean coffee too.
Make sure you get it. Make sure you get it ground. Yeah, I was like, when I got it, I poured it into my pot or into my container. I was like, oh shoot, I got to go grind this stuff. So that was kind of funny, but it's good coffee. But no, I know we need to wrap this up. So just a couple other things I wanted to mention.
Yeah, but before that, we got to tell people how to enter. We're gonna pull the winner on Friday. So make sure no later than Thursday Night Football with the Steelers. That's going to be your last opportunity. There'll probably be another tweet that's sent out there. You can feel free to retweet with a comment any of these. One of them is pinned at all times to our profile over on Twitter /SteelCityUnderGur because it's just too long of a Twitter handle. But go on there and you can enter to one of these big boxes of coffee, just like Terry has, and you may need a grinder, but it's good stuff. So Terry, your closing notes.
So the Rams lost to the Saints, even though they tried to fake a punt. But the Rams defense, at some point, because they're giving up tons of points, even though their offense is pulling out wins. So there's no undefeated teams anymore. But one of the WTFs for me was 10 sacks. The Vikings versus the Lions. Doesn't Matthew Stafford know how to throw the ball away? I mean, come on, 10 sacks. And then don't even get me started on the Chiefs' 32 fantasy points with Kareem Hunt.
Oh.
He lost my fantasy team for me. I'm over that whole.
You have jogged
thing.
my memory.
Go ahead.
It was Hugh Jackson running around now saying, "Well, if I would have got to do that, or if I could have got to do that, like all of a sudden he would have turned this ship around, and the Browns would have been some undefeated football team." Had me chuckling for
dude, let it go. WTF. Well, and as we look ahead into Thursday Night Football, I know you mentioned it. So just a little food for thought there, people. We are 9-9 on Thursday Night Football, but 7-2 at home. So we have a good shot here. I think it'll be a great game. And one of the things, and this is how I'm going to end my part of it, Ron Rivera, but talking about the Steelers today in his press conference, called Bell the other running back. So we love our starting running back, James Conner. And who knows when the other running back will show up, WTF.
Yeah, I believe that statistic of the 9-9 Thursday Night Football from Missy Matthews with Steelers and Steelers.com. I think she means all Thursday games because that would be like 18 years worth of Thursday Night Football games, and they're not even 10 years into the collective bargaining agreement. The whole thing with everything that's going on right now, franchise tags and all that other stuff. You always hear about that, and that started not too long ago. But the Steelers 7-2 at home on Thursday games. I just think that includes like Thanksgiving or holidays that happen to fall on a Thursday or be labeled that Thursday Night Football brand. Which sometimes you ever notice they like the Saturday game is like the Thursday Night Football brand, just so it can be the NFL Network game or whatever. They kind of like the Sunday Night Football. They do the same thing in the playoffs. It's a Sunday Night Football special or something like that. You know what I mean? I always thought that was weird, but Monday Night Football, they always do that.
I think
too.
She's right. I think she meant Thursday night games, including Thanksgiving and all that. I think this week is going to be particularly a run game, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not running the ball all the time now with Conner, but I think the biggest thing with James Conner or with the whole game is that we just came off a very physical game against the Ravens. And I think that, just Ben's got to feel sore. And I know James has to feel sore too, but isn't he like 30 years younger? So we need to
30.
I'm hoping.
Sorry,
Ben.
don't let his social media manager hear that.
I know. Sorry, Aaron. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but no, I think it's going to be a very heavy run game, and we just got to be able to stop Cam Newton. So
hey, and
hopefully it'll be good.
They got some fresh bodies too, because Rosie Nix and Chuck Secorifor didn't play a snap. So there you go.
That's
Maybe
right.
they got some fresh bodies for some smash mouth football. Good looking out
This
there,
will be good.
Terry. It's good.
This will be good.
Good catching up with you once again too.
You too.
So, folks, don't forget Steelers Legends Cruise, Game Day Tailgate Experience, Jaguars Tailgate Party coming up, and the NFL Game Day Heaping Cup Coffee giveaway over on our Twitter account. That is the voice of Terry Fletcher. My voice, not quite as soothing. My name is Joe Kuzma. Until next time, be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.